Have you ever seen a place like this? In the heart of modern Kyoto, there's an alley just a few meters wide, lined with these beautiful traditional wooden tea houses. It feels so fragile, right? Like it's a relic from another time that could just be swept away. But here's the thing, Pontocho has been standing right here for over 350 years. How is that even possible? So that's the central mystery we're diving into. How does a place this small, this seemingly out of time, manage to survive? I mean, we're not talking about a few decades. We're talking through wars, massive social change, and the constant push of modernization. It really does defy logic. And the answer, well, it's fantastic. It has absolutely nothing to do with luck or just people feeling nostalgic for the good old days. No, Pontocho's incredible resilience comes from a really sophisticated and very deliberate system that turned its unique culture into its greatest business asset. To really understand how strong this place is, we have to go back to the very beginning. And you might be surprised to hear that it all started on what was basically just an unstable strip of sand in a river. Okay, so picture this. It's 1670. City planners in Kyoto do something kind of crazy. They literally reclaim land from the middle of the Kamo River, turning a useless, flood-prone sandbar into prime real estate. But the real game changer, the moment that set the course for everything, came a few decades later in 1712. And here's where Pontocho got its first lucky break. Because this land was brand new, it existed in this kind of regulatory gray zone. It was outside the city's strict rules and zoning laws. Think of it like a loophole. And this loophole made it the perfect spot for tea houses and entertainment businesses to pop up and thrive, away from the watchful eyes of the authorities. So, how did this little alley in a legal gray zone develop an economy so powerful that it's lasted for centuries? Well, it's all about a system they call the flower world. Remember that pivotal moment in 1712? That's when Pontocho was officially designated a Hanamachi, which literally translates to flower town. Now, this was way more than just a cool name. It was essentially an economic license. It was the legal foundation for an incredibly sophisticated business model to be built. So here's how it actually works. It's a closed loop. A client, you don't just book a geeko or a geisha directly. First, you go to an ochaya, a tea house. The tea house then acts as the host and the coordinator. They're the ones who contract the performers from an okya, which is the geisha house where they live and train. It's this whole ecosystem that runs on long-term relationships and, most importantly, trust. And the investment required to even be a part of this world is just staggering. We're talking at least 10 million yen, that's over 70,000 US dollars today, just to train a single geiko over 5 years. Now, this isn't just an expense, it's a massive barrier to entry. It guarantees an unbelievably high standard of art, and it's what justifies the premium prices. Honestly, the best way to think about this whole thing is like a medieval guild. Seriously, everyone's success is tied to everyone else. Your reputation is your currency. If a tea house doesn't treat performers well, they won't get the best talent. If a geisha house sends someone who isn't ready, they won't get called again. It's a system of mutual enforcement of the highest standards. Now, a system this strong and this old, you just know it's been tested. And Pontocho was put to the test 3 times by major historical events that nearly, and I mean nearly, wiped it completely off the map. So, test number 1, the Meiji Restoration in 1868. Imagine this. Overnight, your entire customer base, the samurai class, is just abolished. They're gone. You think that's game over, right? But Pontocho adapted, and they did it brilliantly. They started welcoming new clients like Western businessmen. They'd even bring in chairs and tables for them. But, and this is the crucial part, they never, ever compromised on the quality or authenticity of their traditional arts. Then came World War II. Pontocho got a little bit lucky. That narrow alleyway made it a really difficult target for bombers. But the bigger challenge actually came after the war, with the occupying forces who, often misunderstood what the geeko culture was all about. The solution? They got smart. The tea houses turned cultural education into part of the entertainment itself, explaining the traditions to this new, curious audience. And maybe the most direct threat of all came in 1974. The city had a plan. They wanted to widen the alley for cars and traffic. I mean, can you imagine? It would have completely destroyed the intimate character that makes Pontocho special. But this time, the business owners banded together. They fought the plan tooth and nail, and they won. It was this huge victory that proved the community could protect itself.
And that victory really brings us to the modern era, because this is the point where preservation stops being an accident or a lucky break and starts being a very deliberate and very effective business strategy.
This is where the community really took control of its own fate. Starting in the 80s, the property owners all agreed to a set of their own strict rules. Any new buildings had to look like traditional machiya townhouses. Everything was capped at 2 stories, and they kept big chain restaurants out. It was a conscious choice to put the collective atmosphere above any one person's quick profit. The best way to picture it is like a homeowners association, but for an entire commercial district. Sure, every single owner gives up a little bit of their own freedom, but what they get in return, the collective benefit, is immense. The entire alley preserves that unique character that makes it so incredibly valuable in the first place. And this mindset really sums it all up perfectly. They don't see themselves as a museum, just preserving the past for old time's sake. No, this is a cold, calculated business strategy. They are using historical authenticity as their #1 competitive advantage in a modern world. So, after this incredible story of survival, what can we all learn from it? And just as important, what kind of challenges is Pontocho facing right now, today? Well, the biggest challenge might just be a demographic one. The number of geiko, the very heart and soul of this district's economy, has dropped dramatically. From over 200 back in the 1960s to only about 80 today. That pipeline of talent that makes this whole system work is genuinely at risk. And when you stack Pontocho up against Kyoto's other flower towns, you can really see its unique strategy. It's carved out this special middle ground. It's not as super exclusive as some of the others, but it's way more traditional than some of the more touristy spots. And of course, it has that killer riverside location, which is an appeal that you just can't replicate anywhere else. So, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Pontocho teaches us that cultural preservation really succeeds when it's driven by hard economic logic. This tradition, this alley, it didn't survive because the government made a rule. It survived because the community itself figured out how to make tradition profitable. And that, of course, leaves us with one final big question. In our world today, a world of Instagram, of global travel, of constant, relentless change, can a system that was built on exclusivity, on personal relationships, and on slow, careful tradition, can it really keep going? The story of the next 350 years, well, that's yet to be written.